can say this about season 4. It is going to be so worth the wait.
Nowhere, actually.
A wrecking machine. I'll take it.
I'm still figuring out my own style, Mark, actually.
It was great.
It took 2 minutes and I had to answer, yeah, go for it.
Are you sure you're not interested? I was like, don't ask me again. I can't refuse that twice.
In Holland, in one country.
She got me so deep and underwater and I drank it. That's not good.
You'll try chocolate from South Africa to Australia to England. It will taste so different.
So it's been really amazing that it's been with you after 10 long years.
The first title we were messing around with, we were going to call it Lockdown. And then after a while, we actually kind of realised, God, this is dragging on a lot longer than what we thought it was going to be.
I didn't want to give people a reminder.
Our bass player has a band. We were like, let's go on the road, man. But and then it just came to a screeching halt.
We had to work on like how I was biting the carrot. Like I had to do it very purposefully, you know? You didn't want a weak bite, but you didn't want a bite that was too strong.
Someone jumps the stage and one of our techs just body slams him to the ground and you can see me kick him.
I guess I was too distracted. I was having too much fun. Never a bad thing.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, got it. Hello.
Hello, Mark.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. I am Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts based here in Seattle, Washington. Thank you so much for joining me on this Friday, the 23rd of April, 2021. And hopefully you're having a great Friday wherever you are in the world. I know I am because this is actually my Saturday based on my schedule of things that I normally do. And I'm super excited to have my guests back. And before we get to that, I have a little bit of housekeeping as always. Coming up next week on Tuesday, I have two, is that right? Yeah, 2 live streams. One is at 10 a.m. with Metal Light, that's Pacific Daylight Time here on the West Coast. And then at 3:30, I have The Ring, which is who are from Canada. It's a progressive rock type of music, and the guitar players just fantastic. And I was actually not familiar with them at all, so I really wanted to get a chance to talk to them. So that's on Tuesday. And then Wednesday next week, I have Motor Jesus at 1 p.m. from Germany. So some rock and roll metal stuff coming. And then after that, I'm kind of taking a little bit of a break from the live stream world just because I'll be getting my second vaccine jab. So hopefully no side effects from that. But just in case I'm not scheduling anything, in case I'm laid up on the sofa over there for a day or two. But hopefully it won't be like that, knock on wood. And then I do have some other things that are already planned into May that I'll announce soon. So if you follow me as Eclectic Arts Media, one word on Instagram, that's where everything gets posted first. And then I migrate some of that information over to Facebook. But there's definitely things that are, I guess, exclusive to Instagram that I put there. I just find that it's more of a content-oriented social media platform than Facebook. And if you're here on YouTube, if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video, that's always appreciated. And then if you're on the Twitch side of things, if you could follow me over there, that's also appreciated. So that's kind of going to take care of all the housekeeping things. So let's get to my introduction and we'll start talking to my guests. My guests today are a no frills, no bullshit rock and roll band from the UK. Their brand new album, Waiting for Good Luck, was released on April 9th on Frontiers Music, which is this, because I have my copy. It's receiving a massive response worldwide. Please welcome back to the Eclectic Arts Virtual Studio, The Treatment.
How we doing? All right.
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate.
Yes, it's so awesome having you guys back, and I get both guitar players, both brothers. So this is going to be cool.
Yeah, some great love today. Yeah, man. You got the real rockets. You're not getting no 50 Shades of Grey, so don't get it confused, all right? Yeah.
Awesome. For me being a guitar player myself, this is extra special. So yeah, we're gonna get into all the music parts of things with the album, and I've got a bunch of other questions. But truthfully, the response has been huge once the album officially came out on the 9th. So how are you feeling about everything right now? You must be over the moon.
Mate, over the moon. I mean, it's been an incredible run up to the album, and then from the moment it came out, and the way the fans have received it has been just unbelievable. And the media as well has been so supportive. Like, we've had so many amazing independent media kind of people getting in touch with us and really supporting us. I think there's a massive, like we said last time, a huge change for music. It's a lot of people are really supporting the homegrown talent and really searching, digging a bit deeper than what they normally do to kind of discover new bands. And although we're not, I wouldn't say a new band, it's kind of like a new fresh start for us. And it's been amazing. Good, just good times all round. Yeah. Kind of needed as well after the few months we've had.
Yeah, I think everyone's been lacking that live music element. So I think, bringing them some new songs, like especially our original fans plus new ones we've gained, I think everyone's been super stoked about it. So it's been a great response. Couldn't ask for any more.
Yeah, and I know when we talked back on, it was actually, it was March. Is that right? Yeah, March 11th is when we did the first interview. And
feels like it was last week.
Yeah, time has no meaning anymure.
It doesn't, definitely. I haven't even moved from the same spot since last time.
But it really is one of those albums, because I was trying to describe your music to someone who wasn't familiar with you. I said, like when you go to your friend's house or you're in their car and a song comes on and maybe you're not familiar with that song, but you're trying to start bopping your head, and then the next thing out of your mouth says, turn that shit up. That basically that's what this album is.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah, I mean it's again, and one of my favorite tracks on the album is Vampirus. It's just the riff, the energy, everything to it. And I know you guys had mentioned earlier last month that you were rehearsing like night and day to make sure before you went in the studio you had that music down pat, ready to go. And it does jump out of the speakers. It really does.
It's it's mad you talk about Vampirus, because that was actually almost wasn't even gonna, it didn't exist until about a week before Rockfield.
Yeah.
It was just one day.
It was kind of like, when you had that riff.
All four of us were in rehearsals, and I think it must have been done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It was just a riff that came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden there was the whole song.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
I think we actually dropped another song from the listing to put that one in. So yeah, lucky for you, man, it made the cut.
Yeah, really lucky for me and everyone else out there that likes the song.
No, I do love that song though. It's like, fast paced, no messing about. It's that sort of foot stomper. Really get everyone going.
It's the insane vocals on it.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I'm never
yeah, Tom does a good job on that.
Yeah, and that's actually a really great segue. So, like with the songs that you guys write, and like you mentioned with Vampirus, a riff came up and then you start jamming it out, and it turned into the song. Was that pretty much how all the songs were? And like, someone just starts with a riff, and who's also doing the lyrics?
Well, so Laurie does all the lyrics. So we spoke last time. So Laurie actually started the production for this record a long time before we even got into rehearsals. So the songs kind of were in a good shape.
Yeah.
When we started going into our rehearsals for this.
Yeah.
But then along the way, when you're sitting there and you're kind of just different bits pop up here and there, and you're like, whoa, okay, hold on. And Vampirus was one of those kind of way later on. Like, I mean, when we went and recorded the backing for it in Rockfield, I don't think even any lyrics had been written. I don't think there was a chorus for it. It was just the kind of riff, and it all kind of came afterwards, which was amazing with that one. That one happened almost the complete opposite to how the treatment normally kind of works. But normally, like I said, the production starts a long time before even the rehearsals began for the live recording. They were kind of done in a small studio, and we just demoed like some, electric drums, and here and there we've got some tiny little black star that sounds horrific, and we plug it in, and it all kind of just somehow makes sense. And then once the shape of them are done, then it goes into the rehearsals and what you hear finally from Rockfield.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so there's quite a bit of pre-production work going on then.
I think the demos per se come before we were rehearsing them, so you sort of get a feel of what the track's going to do. maybe some backing vocals, etc. So you get an idea of, you know, like maybe some chorus melodies. And then, yeah, then we went into full scale treatment mode, pre-production. We were like jamming every day for 8 hours for like 3 months to get it up to scratch.
Oh man. And Cal, with you playing bass on the recording, was that something that just because of where things were and the 4 of you were there, or with Lori 5 of you were there to actually work through all these kind of things, or was it like it just made sense to do it that way instead of having you do guitars, or is that how you've been doing things on the records?
Yeah, well, no, yeah, for this one, I think because we really wanted that live element, and at the time we had no bass player either, so it was kind of like, I was like, all right, well, I'm up for a new challenge anyway, so why not? Which was quite cool. And I got my fair share of, me and Lowell worked through some solos with Tag as well, so I got my bits of guitar on there, so I was happy about that. But no, yeah, it was cool, man, and like it just gave me a new challenge, and also us a chance to work together because we all know each other super well, rather than bringing in someone we didn't know.
I think there's, like you said, there's massive when you having new members come in and out. It does take a long time to sort of gel, and the biggest problem is that we were in the middle of a lockdown. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we kind of sort of thought about it. And we're like, don't think we can really swing this one. There's breaking a few rules, and then there's point blank breaking the law, and you're getting a 10 grand fine for having some long head nonsense coming down here.
Yeah.
So we kind of where we were all in the same bubble together, just sadly not with Andy. I think we kind of took the decision that, it was Lowell who's, since when he started producing this one, he said like, dudes, this one we got to record live.
Yeah.
So something that Treatment have never done before. We've never done it, recorded all together.
Yeah.
It's always just been the bass and drums have been done together. And I think when Lowell kind of decided that, we thought, all right, well, let's give this a shot. How can we make it work?
Yeah.
And it's been night and day for the record. I think you can tell the difference of when a band actually does play live, as opposed to when it's all multi-layered and tracked.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was it's a bit of a weird experience. I mean, I'm glad you picked up the bass, because I certainly wouldn't have been able to do that job.
No,
His wrists are about double the size now.
Yeah, I've got muscly hands now. No, it was good though. It was fun, and yeah, as Tag said, like with the lockdown, obviously, we couldn't, for the amount of time we needed. We needed what, minimum 2-3 months with someone who wasn't living in our house would have been impossible. Do you know what I mean? Or we would have had to delay it. We were like, we need something to do during this lockdown, something to keep us from going around the loop. But yeah, no, that's sort of how that came to fruition.
Okay, yeah, and it makes perfect sense too. And a lot of bands, when they're recording things, I'm thinking even like old school Metallica stuff. James was doing all the rhythm guitars, and Kirk was just doing the leads. He never did any kind of rhythm playing on those early records. And it's kind of like, well, what's best for the record? And when you have a lockdown on top of it, it becomes like, well, we have less options, more so now. So we got to get creative here.
I think it's recording is a whole different beast to being in the studio, and Treatment's always been like that. It's not who plays on it; it's just who sounds the best.
Yeah.
And especially with Lowell, I mean, he's got a wealth of experience going back to the 80s.
Yeah.
He taught me out. I mean, I joined the Treatment when I was 16, and I couldn't even play the 3 chords. You know what I mean? I think I suck if I could play 1. So I've learned everything from him along the way in playing guitar and how to get that sound that that we have. Like that's not something that I picked up naturally. It's been a long process, road for me, and a lot of learning, and I think having him on the record as well really it added a massive sound. It was great.
Yeah, I think we're lucky that we've got someone with that sort of wealth of knowledge who's done it before, so like everything down to when we're like picking what amps to use, all that sort of stuff, like me, Tag, and him will be sitting, we'll be rewiring speakers, every single, taking every nut and bolt out of an amplifier or whatever we can.
It's quite good because he has a garage full of about 10 different Marshall heads, and it's quite an awesome day.
We have a guitar day.
Just retry every Marshall one more time,
But the neighbors do get a bit angry sometimes.
Man, that's awesome. Where you don't have to, basically put out to some, rental company or something to get gear. You've got somebody in house that not only has the knowledge, but actually has the gear that you can use.
The thing is, I've got some great stuff, but I haven't got 40 years worth of good stuff.
Working on
I
it.
can't get hold of the 70s stuff because I haven't got enough of this anymore. You know what I mean? So it's cool to, you know, play some, and as well when he busts out the guitars, you know, he's got such an awesome collection. It's just real magic, you know. It's nice to be able to have someone part of, like, you know, as part of our team, as it were, who, you know, we can talk about and try different things with.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a huge plus that, you know, many bands don't have at their disposal, especially someone that they trust.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
someone who's
basically,
basically,
well,
you know, family.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing, is he is family to us. You know, he's literally family to Dan, and we've lived with him. Well, I've lived with him since I've been, you know, 16, 17. You know, it's a serious bond. He's been like almost, you know, a second dad to me anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for all members of the band, core members of the band, 100%. Yeah, he's been here since 16. I've been here since about 1 week into being 18. As soon as it's illegal to play in a club.
I mean, I probably wouldn't say he was in dad and said, "Oh, go to school," and that. No, he was definitely said, "No, definitely don't go to school.
Go to rock and roll school."
That's it.
So, what's it like? I've got an older brother who plays drums, and I play guitar, and so I know sometimes there's really some magical things that can happen between siblings. Like, you don't even have to think. I just know where he's going to go drum-wise with something. What's it like for both of you guys as guitar players, being brothers?
I think the best part about it, definitely for me, is the fact that we enjoy each other's company. So when it comes down to spending that long amount of time together, you know, rehearsing, getting things up to scratch, like, I think where some people might rub against each other, we're completely the opposite from that. Do you know what I mean? But I think we enjoy that. It's almost like a bonding experience anyway in itself. So I think, like, you know, when you've got to sit there and you've got to spend the hours and you've got to do your homework, you know, per se, I mean, I enjoy it more than that. But yeah, I think that's, for me, that's the best part about it, is that it's with someone that I'm so familiar with. So yeah, I think that helps us gel together for sure.
I think it's weird, like, since childhood we've been very close, but now we're really close. Like, we've just got such a kind of love for the same thing.
Yeah.
And a real understanding. Like, I think we just work really well. Like, we're not afraid to sit there for hours and hours and work on parts. You know, we're not really kind of that band that just goes out and just on a whim and doesn't rehearse. Like, we actually really do
work hard,
sit down and nail each part and go through every bit. And it's amazing to have, like, a kind of sort of someone there who is on completely the same wavelength. And, like, that's how we really are when we work together. We're on the same wavelength. And then obviously you've got the, you know, the family bond between Dan and Laurie as well.
Yeah.
And so it's just, the treatment is really like a huge family.
Yeah.
And absolutely. It's, you know, we're tight. I don't think we let many people in, but when you're in, you are in.
Yeah.
And that's 100%. How we roll.
That is definitely how we roll.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm thinking back that there's recording somewhere of my brother and I jamming on stuff in our parents', you know, basement kind of deal. And I've always been close with him. We've always gotten along. So it's something really similar to that. So if we were to do a band now, then it'd be like, yeah, I have no problem spending that amount of time with him.
Yeah, it's like you said, you know, the timing and the playing as well is I think we both complement each other, because we both have mega strengths and mega weaknesses in our playing, and we are never afraid to kind of try different bits and see who
swap
does
things around. Like, if I'm not playing it very well, he's not, you know, we just go, right, flip it around,
flip
play this part.
We all, you know, kind of feel where we're going. And it's definitely it's a kind of bond that I hadn't had with any of the other guitar players before. So it's been, you know, it was amazing when he came on board. You know,
yeah,
that's all.
You know, it was cool. As I say, I was a week after my 18th birthday. It was like, right, okay, now you can actually play in these clubs and bars. He's like, do you want to come down for an audition? I was like, absolutely, mate. Dropped everything that I was doing, and here I am, quite a few years later.
Wow. And so did both of you guys have similar guitar influences? Are there any variants in your influences?
I'd say they're probably quite similar, purely because the age difference is I was growing up listening to what he was listening to, if you know what I mean. So, like, when I was maybe, you know, in that young stage where I'm figuring out what sort of music I like, you know, just before your teen years, maybe 11, 12 years old or whatever, he's already putting out pure rock and roll. So, you know, there's not much, you know, that to me, it was like, and also, you know, you look up to your brother. So I was like, that's the cool thing. Not that I didn't like it anyway, but, you know, so that I think almost his heroes instantly became mine. But yeah, I'd say, like, we differ slightly in some stuff that we like.
I think
but
you're more into some modern music. You know, like I can't think. I don't know what you listen to these days. But
yeah,
I think I'm more in the old school. I'm just glad I didn't get my dad's genes, because otherwise I'd be listening to like Men at Work or some rubbish like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I definitely take after the rock and roll with my mum. She was like into the Stones, and I remember her first gig she took me to was Deep Purple, which is pretty cool. It was great. I saw them at the Astoria in London, and they played to probably 900 people. And it's like amazing that 5 years later they were doing the O2 again. You know, is it just insane how a band can just be up here and down here and then just fly around? But yeah, I think influence wise, definitely would. You know, you probably just heard a lot. I mean, the first time I got AC/DC live at Donington, I think in '91, and mate, I must have hurt people in our house. It was on 24/7. That's all it was doing in front of the TV. You know, the anchors. Oh yeah, here you go. You know, mate. I mean, even my brother who hates music, like the little brother, he got into AC/DC from that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was on non-stop on the TV live at Donington. But if anyone watching this hasn't seen that, you've got to watch that. 100%. Well worth it.
Yeah, no, I remember that Razor's Edge tour, and that was when you're talking about playing something 24/7. For me, gosh, that must have been when I was like in 6th grade, so I was maybe like 11. That's when I saw them live here on the For Those About to Rock tour, and then I just remember. My parents can attest to this. I would do the Angus spin on the floor with the guitar.
Yeah. Iconic, isn't it? Absolutely iconic.
Yeah, and I'm sure that my parents would probably look at me like, "What the fuck? You know, what's going on with my son?"
100% devil ritual worshipping going on.
There. Something weird. Something's gone wrong with our child.
Yeah, but that band had such a huge impact on me. I mean, they were the second band I ever saw live, so I mean, kind of rightfully so, they had a huge impact. But I know they had a huge impact on you guys as a band as well. I think one thing that's interesting too is that some people are getting kind of maybe a little bit of a misdirection that you guys love AC/DC, but your sound is your sound. I mean, yeah, there's some influence there, but you're not a copy of them by any stretch.
No, 100%. I think
there's a lot more. You know, AC/DC are very. I think what they do is incredible, and I mean they're my favorite band hands down. But they have a kind of a one-dimensional sound, and I think it's an amazing sound, but it is kind of one-dimensional. I think we really try and pull on different influences, and
a lot of
got
a huge like sort of
I think with the use of
as well,
sort of stuff. The use of the BVs as well is massive. That's something I don't think AC/DC really ever kind of accomplished. It's just not really kind of part of their sound. I think it's much more part of the treatment sound. Especially if you listen to like tracks like Devil in the Detail or Rat Race or Emergency, huge on that BV front.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully, to try and give us, something slightly different flavor. Different flavor.
So. Yeah, absolutely. I think what happened with the first interview that we did, some of the people that watch my channel were like, "Mark, where's this band been? I didn't know they existed." And I'm like, well, that's part of why we do these interviews, so you get exposed to somebody new, and they're saying when they listen to the music, especially once the album came out, they're like, wow, there's so much more than AC/DC. It's like, exactly. So that's a foundation, but there's all these other pieces to it.
Yeah. No, that's definitely what we want to go for, 100%. be like, but not exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly. And just as a hypothetical question, even though I understand why you recorded as a 4-piece, it makes complete sense. Lockdown, don't have a bass player right now, don't have the amount of time to spend everything together since you're all living in the same bubble. Was there ever a thought of staying a 4-piece?
No, I love playing too much. It was cool though. Like, I mean, we have been, we've been talking about like this was a great way to record, so we were like, we need to, however we go and record again, we need to capture the same magic that we've captured. So I think it really helped the fact that we just had no distractions, because you weren't even allowed to leave your house anyway. So we had that time to really spend on it. But yeah, we said no matter what happens from now, next time we record, we have to find that magic again, however we do it. So
I think that was the big thing is, when you're in a touring band all the time, it like getting 2-3 months of actually doing nothing, it isn't as easy as it sounds. Like there's always things going on, like there's always shows coming up, and whenever you've got a show coming up, you've got rehearsals, and then everyone's got their lives around it. To actually have 3 months to not be allowed to leave the house was painful for us, but it was also the biggest thing behind this record. Had it not been for COVID, I actually don't think Waiting for Good Luck would have sounded the way it did.
Yeah,
it just wouldn't have had that time. We've never had it before.
Yeah,
you know. So for us, the challenge now for us is, okay, we go, all right, well, how do we do the follow up out of COVID? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're just gonna. I think we're gonna have to make some sort of band agreement and say, I'm sorry, for the next 3 months, you're coming and locking in with us, mate. Lock on the front door.
We're going into treatment
we're not going
lockdown. Yeah, that's it.
We need to go find like a cave in the middle of bumfuck nowhere.
Yeah,
there's no pubs, no nothing, an alcohol ban, and then we're good.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think for a lot of artists during this time, and particularly in your case, like you said, there's such a grind when you're recording, touring. You got to do a video, got another tour to do. There's really not time to stop and just say we're just going to focus strictly on this. And there's a lot of times there's deadlines and rushes. So in this case, look what happened. It worked out so well. So yeah, you're thinking in the future, we got to replicate this somehow.
Yeah, exactly. That's the game plan.
We'll see, but like I said, there's no plans with 4-piece just yet. So.
Well, and speaking of like, eventual shows and everything, are things still looking on the up and up over there in the UK to be able to do shows or festivals or anything of the sort?
They're looking, like I said, when we spoke to you last time, it was positive. Like now at the moment, it just seems to be more shows coming in. Yeah, it's really looking good here in the UK. Like I said, I mean, things do change, the change of a wind, change of a hat, whatever the saying is. But at the moment, everything seems to be set, dead on track for opening up for the June the 21st. So we go straight into our first festival. I think it's 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
Call of the Wild, which is our first big appearance. It's a big, massive start for us because it's headlining. I think it's a Friday night we're headlining, Thursday or Friday. And so that's a massive start for us. And then just following that, it's just another couple of festival headlines. And we're looking at kind of some shows for either the rest of the year and into next year, but nothing in concrete yet. I think there's obviously a bit of worry about booking shows, but they're definitely looking at it. And so far, so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I saw there's some shows going ahead over your side, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing press release after press release of things that are even getting scheduled this summer. I know there's a couple of 2-day festivals that are supposed to happen in August. And so hopefully that stays that way and we keep going on that path. I know locally here in Washington State that we're in the unfortunate situation that we actually might be taking a step back because of the cases increasing so much. So I hope that doesn't happen, obviously. But
I saw the other day Buck Cherry were actually out playing again.
Yeah, they're on the schedule to come to Seattle, I saw.
I see.
And so maybe they'll be able to. The other thing I can also say just for me locally is that some of the tours that have been announced, they're not coming to the Northwest. They're going to California and that's it. They're not going to Oregon or Washington or Vancouver, BC. So and that might just because they can't find anyone that wants to book the shows here because they don't know what's going on yet. So we're kind of in a precarious state in this part of the world, at least.
I think it's a scary time, but it's just, people, I think, understand what's going on and people are being so supportive. There's been a massive change, I think, in realizing that, all the arts across, whether it's in theatre, if you're going to see an orchestra, if you're going to see some, crazy theatre production, people are really supporting the arts, which I think is amazing. And it's definitely something that's been a long time coming, that's been needed because it's a horrendous industry sometimes. And it's amazing seeing people supporting, people's dreams and what they want to do and their way of expressing stuff. This is our way of expressing who we are.
And I think when we do finally come out of, lockdown, when life goes back to sort of normal, I think people will be so starved of that, to see arts, expressive arts, music, all that sort of stuff. I think there will honestly be a massive boom, especially for gigs. Like I have friends who have never even been to a gig are telling me they want to go to a gig.
Sometimes you just have to get in a mosh pit and be punched in the face. There's no other way you can go. There's nowhere else in the world you can go.
We actually went to see at the beginning of the year. We went to see. Luckily, we went to see Slipknot. I think I feel like that beginning of the year, beginning of last year, just before lockdown. I'm glad we did that because we got out a load of rage just before they stopped all the gigs.
It's only there's only places in metal and rock music where you can go down, get punched in the face by someone in the mosh pit, and you go and shake their hand. You are, mate. It's just there's rock and roll community. There's rock and roll gig. There is nothing like it. There's no way of explaining to someone who hasn't been to one what it's like to be at a gig, and there's no way of replicating it. It's just something, and hopefully something that people have been really missing. I know our fans over here have. They've just been so supportive of us, and it's just going to be great to see them all when we're out on the road again.
Yeah, no, well said. I think that's universal around the world, that people have been just, if you're already a fan of the arts, then you're that much more of a fan of the arts during the pandemic. And if you're someone who wasn't really going to shows of any kind, now maybe you watch the live stream, you watch something on YouTube or whatever, and you're like, I want to go see that in person now, because I never had you just took it for granted. Hey, I can go see a band anytime I want. Well, that got taken away from you for over a year. And so now it's like, well, don't take that for granted again. Get your ass out to a show.
Yeah.
Oh man, but you're right about the community. I mean, I've been going to gigs since I was 9 years old, and being in the pit, somebody goes down, people grab their ass and bring them back up, because you want to have a good time, but you don't want somebody to die.
Yeah, everyone looks out. Everyone looks out for each other, and that's the main thing. You're there to have a good time.
I think it's the one thing when you get into being in a band, you actually don't get to go to as many shows as what you once did when you were before you were in a band, because you're always kind of playing them, and when you're playing them, it's like there's a whole different level of excitement and energy, which is amazing. But you're not going to it as a fan.
Yeah, as a puncher,
you're going to someone who's kind of playing, so you're not really there. And it's a shame. It's like something that I do miss a lot. And when we do get to go and see shows, it's such a great experience again. You go, God, this is why I got into this. This is why that excitement, with that 5-minute lead up before the band goes on, that's what,
I think that's what makes people want to be in a band, So then when you're in the band, then you almost forget that.
It's weird, like you're in the whole flip side, but you get the 5 minutes of excitement before you go on, and you go, do I remember everything?
Can I actually play guitar?
Yeah. And I have had a few of those experiences where I can't remember everything.
Yeah, that's good fun though.
I know that from just playing around town locally, that there's been times when I had a brain fart during a gig about.
Happens to the best of us, man. It happens to everyone. I can guarantee.
I've never had that happen, but I mean, there's been a couple that I remember when Dan counted in the song once, and I just had no clue what we were going into. It was just the counting, and I just hit this giant acorn, and I was like,
right,
I don't know what I'm doing, man.
We're all looking at each other like, right, which song are we going into now, boys?
Yeah, I remember that one gig that I had, because my singer came over and was like telling me in my ear what the chord was and stuff like that. I'm still like, I know it's the chord, but I couldn't figure out the melody. I just completely had a brain part on what the fuck I'm supposed to play. Eventually it came back to me, and then we moved on with it. But that's part of the fun of playing live too. It's warts and all. Everything's out there like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely is part of it. 100%.
It's all part, it is, you're right. It's the magic of playing live, and some. It's quite weird. Like sometimes it's kind of cool when you see a band kind of make a few mistakes, and you're like, oh, they are human. You know what I mean? They are like the rest of us.
And also, I do find like when you're playing, for example, let's say if you make even the tiniest little mistake, like for you, you're like, oh my god, this is awful. I've made, people don't even realise, because they're there watching the band, whereas you're playing, your part within the band. So yeah, I find that, or like some things you're like, oh, like I don't know, from different sides of the stage, some things sound different as well. Do you know what I mean? So, for example, on my side of the stage, let's say me and Tag cross sides of the stage, and I'm over his side, and I'm like, it sounds nothing like it does over that side. I'm like, but yeah, so that's the thing, is kind of like, you got to put trust in it, belief that you've done your bit, and you've just got to go out there and perform and do what you love doing.
It rocks more at my side of the stage. That's all.
That's why I'm going there. I'm over his side. And I'm like, this ain't rocking, man. Must be my guitar coming out this side.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys have the festival are still looking like they're a green light, because it would be a damn shame if you didn't get a chance to promote this record. I mean, it's such a beast of an album. So I hope not only do you get to do the festivals, but things keep going and opening up over there, so you can do that tour in the fall or early winter or whatever it is. Because I mean, again, everything like we talked about in the first interview, you recorded it differently. It sounds differently. The reception to it's been different. And so it's like, man, this is when you would get out on the road and just hit it hard and
that's
the hell out of it.
Yeah, that's the hard part, because usually, well, obviously, you see people streaming and viewing, you know, and buying CDs, but usually when you know you go and promote your CD, and you can see whether, you know, more people are buying tickets and that sort of thing. But we have no idea until we really get out there whether, you know, people are gonna be like, right, we want to come and see this band. You know, obviously they are. I mean, come on, it's gonna be awesome. But yeah, that's the thing, is it's hard to gauge that, you know, that excitement level from, and transfer it into fans coming to see the band. So, you know, we're just going to have to hold tight and wait until that day comes.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I kind of just thinking about this as I was looking at the CD stuff here. So for people that haven't seen it, what was the concept, or who came up with the concept for the cover? Was that Laurie, or is that the band, or both?
No, that was Laurie who came up with the concept for Bags. So we call him Bags, or the Yeti. He was one of our roadies. He still kind of is on and off. He's kind of just really paid to make us laugh on the road. I don't know if he can tune a guitar or not. Yeah, probably not. I mean, if I trust him with it, definitely not. But yeah, so obviously him and Lowell were really good friends. And then Lowell came up with the idea. He was like, let's get Bags on the cover. And so he came down, I think it must have been just after the first lockdown. It's probably like one of the first people we'd seen since being locked up. And we just got him absolutely smashed. Fed him booze, fed him curry, takeaway salads. Yeah.
So that was it. Yeah, the idea was, we just wanted someone to, you know, basically look like they are waiting for that break, you know, waiting for that good luck, which, you know, we sort of, I think, at a time with all the crap going on.
I think it was quite scary for all of us with the artwork, because we kind of weren't really sure how people would kind of receive it.
Yeah.
And so then that was the first thing we put out before, obviously, any teasers or any singles or anything, was the artwork. But from day dot of like waiting for good luck, from literally the moment the artwork was released, it was received incredibly, and people were just loving it. Obviously, you know, I think it just resonated within some people. Like this particular point in time, everything going on, you know, people were like, yeah, I can relate to that guy. And we need a bit of good luck.
I feel like there's a few of us like that around.
It totally took on a life of its own. And then everything that happened after that, because then the single came out not long after, and it was just this kind of like snowball of just like, wow, you know, this is really, really kicking off for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, kudos to Lowell on that one, because I think he nailed the artwork.
Yeah, and like you guys just said, I mean, especially during the last year, people they've either been feeling like this, or they look like this at one point, and they're like, yeah.
I'm looking down right now, and you see Dave's toe that's sticking out of his sock. I've got a similar kind of thing going on right now, so I'm relating to that, man.
Yeah, man, I feel like we could all relate to him.
Yeah, and whose dog is on the insert?
All right, that's Charlie. Yeah, that is also Laurie's dog too. So he's a massive.
He may be the sixth member of the band as well.
We love that dog, absolutely.
All right, and I'm kind of curious. I've talked to some other guests about, especially if you buy vinyl, or if you're back, you know, my day when that's all you could buy, that or cassettes, that song selection on records were it was like an art. You know, the first song, maybe the second song is going to be the single, and then like your 9th or 10th song, you wanted to end the album with something that would make you want to go back and listen to it all over again. Did you guys have some intention behind how, because you start with Rat Race and you end with Wrong Way, so I'm kind of wondering, was there some intention behind that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
It's how that runs is a make or break. I don't think it's not so much in, you know, because we don't really listen to an album as a whole anymore, because the way streaming works, you kind of just pick out your favorites. When you actually listen to the whole thing start to finish, like the way it runs is so smooth. And I think the ending with, you know, the second single, Wrong Way, and obviously Rat Race being the first one, was kind of a great kind of thing. So people kind of had to listen to what was in between.
Yeah,
didn't want to skip anything. But the way it all kind of flows through, and I think for me, it's when I first heard it back, was where Lightning the Bottle sits is like the perfect spot for that song. Like that was almost written to be in that bit there.
Yeah, no, it was. I think it is a huge, like Tay was saying, like, you know, especially when I sat down and listened to the running order, you know, that we decided on. I was like, this really works. You know what I mean? It's got to be like something that builds on itself. So, you know, start off strong, but also you can't lose people halfway. It's like a live set list, you know. So like when you're playing live, you can't put all your best, or what people think, you know, your best songs at the beginning. Let's say, you know, I don't know, AC/DC have all hits, but you know, if they played crowd favourites in the first half of the set, what have you got?
To be fair, as the song Hold Fire says, you can't blow at the beginning.
Oh, we had a little glitch there, so I was listening to you guys.
So good. I love if you've had a chance to sit down and actually see the lyrics to Hold Fire.
Yeah, you should have a little read through that bit. There's some serious innuendos in there.
I will definitely do that. Well, and the innuendo thing, then that totally reminds me of Bon Scott lyrics. For sure.
Have a listen to it and let us know.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
It's interesting too, because I actually had Hold Fire down on my little notes here as another one of the tunes that jumped out at me. But I'll definitely look at the lyrics because I was just digging the music part of it. I wasn't listening to what was being said necessarily. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Who needs singers, man? Guitar players is where it's at.
Yeah, man. No, we appreciate guitar players.
Yeah.
Guitar player. That's the only important part, man. We get it.
Cool. And I was curious too that when you guys were on last month, you were just starting to tell me like some tour stories. That you said, hey, you know, when we did the Motley Kiss thing, we were on a tour bus, and then we went from, I don't know, like a 9-hour drive or some shit to get from one gig to another in a van. You must have all kinds of tour stories of things that pop off the top of your head. I'd love to hear one or two.
Just one away.
I mean, where do you want to hear? Do you want to hear outrageous? Do you want to hear ghastly?
Anything that comes to mind.
I mean, so I think probably the most like outrageous more was when we were touring with Kiss and Crew. It was Mal Singer's birthday. It was his 21st out in America, and obviously, you know, you can't drink until you're 21. We'd all been completely adhering to the law. Nicky and Tommy Lee got him some strippers, but I think they got the strippers to dress as clowns because he was afraid of clowns and had really bad phobia. The minute he came off stage, the crew came over and like just grabbed him and taped him to a chair, and we were kind of like, I don't really know what's happening here, man.
Yeah, but we're going to go with it.
Yeah. And mate, he got tied up, whipped around, had so much vodka poured over him. And then the strippers came in, and the look on his face was just magnificent. He literally wasn't sure whether to be really turned on or just be horrifically horrified and scream like a little girl. It was quite weird. And then they took a barrel and started whipping him like 21 times, the classic birthday stuff. But that was real cool to see that kind of side of them, because it doesn't really come out a lot, if you know what I mean. You know, they're quite, you know, those guys they've done their day of partying, and there wasn't really a lot of booze behind the scenes on that tour. So it was really cool to see them kind of let their hair down and have a few drinks with them. I think as well that another story I loved was when we finished the Alice Cooper tour. It was our first kind of real big support tour, and we ended up in Berlin, and they pranked us so hard, and we'd never kind of experienced that. We always, like, you know, you hear the stories of, you know, the opening act getting pranked, and so we knew something was up before we went on stage. There was loads of people scurrying around, and all their crew were kind of just heading towards the stage to come watch. Right? They don't normally head out. They'd covered the whole stage in like double-sided gaffer tape, poured flour everywhere, and then covered Dan's drums in water. So the second we went on, there became this gloop all over the stage. Rick lost his shoes on the gaffer. And then between every song, they had these two guys in chicken suits come running on, sweeping the stage. But they would play these giant chicken noises through the PA. God knows what the audience must have thought. It was like mental. And then they started
dismantling everything, didn't they?
They started like taking bits off, and oh man, they were like chucking water down from above us. It was a real brutal pranking. Like nothing but by the end.
While you're on, you know, while you're on stage trying to play.
I just remember like slipping over in this like flowery gloop, and somehow, like, kudos to their crew. He had the whole thing cleaned up, and the stage was absolutely perfect for Alice 20 minutes later after we came off. I was like 10 out of 10.
These guys know what they're doing.
But actually, I remember after that show, Alice, he invited us all back to his dressing room. He was like, you know, awesome stuff, guys. He was like, how I stay sane these days is I play some toilet golf, and when I'm feeling really edgy, I I just put a bag of crisps on the ground and stamp on them, and that's me letting out my aggression. We're like, all right, Alice, we gotcha. But we've still got that toilet set of golf. I don't know how much it gets played these days, but it's still around. But you know, there's some highlights, and then there's obviously there's other moments where there's some grim times when you're all rammed in a van. And I remember once we had a sleeping bag, and someone jumped out for a piss and stood in a shit and got into the sleeping bag, and then it's in the sleeping bag, and then the sleeping bag's in the van, and the shoes are in the van, and oh man. I remember once actually in Paris, we parked up so early in the morning. I think I was so fed up of trying to sleep on a chair. I was just like, sod all you guys, that's it. I'm just going to go sleep outside on the pavement. I remember falling asleep in a doorway, literally next to the van, and waking up with some piss guy literally pissing next to my head. I just thought, this is a real low point in my career. You know, you go that, and then 12 hours later, you're headlining some place in Paris, and there's 500 people turning up to see you. You go, if you knew I was sleeping in piss about 12 hours earlier. But it's all part of, you know, all part of the stories. And I think a lot of bands try to hide a lot of like the real toughness of being on the road. But we love it, man. It's part of it, you know. There's some tours you're in a tour bus, and it's amazing. In other tours, there's 12 of you in a splitter van. It's just, you know, it's full of ups and downs, you know. Every band goes through it, and it's about how to make a show work. And if there's no other way of doing it, that's what you've got to do. And that's what the treatment's about.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if we've got to get there by, you know, as Tag said, all cramming into a tiny little van.
I remember when we played our first show with Steel Panther was, I think it was in Finland. It took us like 4.5 days to get there. It'd take like 3 ferries, loads of different drivers. I remember there was one, like, we were on what we found out later was called the Love Boat. I think it was from Denmark to Norway or something. And I remember we were asleep in our cabins, and we just had all this scurrying around in the corridor. We opened the door, and this is not a wind-up, and wasn't some sort of crazy like gay bar or something. But there was these naked guys building a pyramid with each other, and like, I just kind of thought, mate, someone spiked my drink or something. I remember looking at Lowell, and I was like, Lowell was looking at me, and it was like, did you see what I just saw? I was like, yeah, I did. I just remember closing the door again. I think I'll sit this one out. You know, then maybe it's just amazing. But that's part of it, you know. But that was it for us. It was like those 4.5 days of traveling were worth it for that half-an-hour show, you know, because that's what we're about.
Yeah, well, and it definitely comes across. I think particularly for bands like yourselves, where you've been around so long and you've been all over the world playing shows. And part of being in a rock and roll band, it's going to separate the men from the boys real quick when you're on tour.
Yes, yeah,
and
definitely.
Yeah, how passionate are you about this? Yeah, when you're sleeping in piss, or you don't have a place to sleep, or
There's been some van breaking down stories. I don't know if you can see. Where's my camera? That one there is for the warning light because of how many times I've seen that come on. It's frightening.
Yeah, we've honestly broken down more times than I can remember. Yeah. Like, and genuinely, we actually have, like, sometimes, you know, we'll have rental vans. They'll be brand new vans, and they'll still break down.
No, there's a great story when we were playing Newcastle, and this is years ago. This was back in the real early days of the treatment. We drove up to Newcastle the night before. We got about half an hour outside of the city, and the van broke down. Okay, so the recovery truck comes to pick up the van. Okay, of course, it's too small to fit all of us, so some of us get dropped off at a nearby garage. We've got to stay the night there. The recovery truck then tows the van back to Cambridge and breaks down on the way. So then the next recovery truck comes to pick up the van from where the recovery truck's broken down. Again, this is an even smaller one. So 2 boys get left at service near there. The van gets back to Cambridge finally. And by the time we actually had a next van, they were like, boys, all up and down the country. And we just made the show the next day. But you just couldn't have actually summed it. Like, when you have the recovery truck break down, that is just
the only band in history where the recovery truck breaks down trying to recover your van.
Oh my God, that's a great story. And Jay, thanks for joining us. I see that you got to leave. And Steve, welcome back. He's one of the new fans that saw the interview last month. And it's like, man,
awesome.
It's dedicated rockers, love their music. What I've heard, everything so far sounds good. So it's like, yeah. And he's down in Texas here in the U.S. But yeah, those stories. I've been really privileged to be able to interview so many different bands and guests over the last year here virtually, and just hearing some of the road stories, just like, holy shit. I mean, some of it's funny, some of it's horrific.
Bro, we could talk for hours. Oh, mate, another good one was when we went to Russia as well.
Oh, no, mate. Oh.
There's a few things I take seriously in life.
Yeah.
One of them is my guitars.
Yeah.
Okay? I kind of like them. In fact, I love them quite a lot. So when you get on a plane, it's always kind of frightening.
You know,
when you're bailing over your baby. Okay, on the go. All right, so all right, we're going. We finally, after about, I think it was 2 changeovers,
yeah,
it was 12 hours of flying, man. It was crazy. We finally got to Moscow. We land, and we're waiting on the conveyor belt, and it goes round and round. And then all of a sudden, I remember turning to Taylor and Dan. Like, boys, there's no one left from our flight here.
Yeah,
and we're still waiting for gear.
You know, when it's like people have taken their stuff, and there's less and less, and you're like,
so we go and find someone who, actually, there wasn't really anyone who spoke any English.
Yeah,
I remember
like
she produced the book, and she was like, what does your luggage look like? And I'm like, kind of like, I remember seeing like a golf club kind of thing. And I was like, it's kind of like that.
That sort of shape, guitar. And they were like,
they had no
clue.
They had to leave the airport and go to where the gig was. And the gig wasn't until the following day. We finally got a call from Vienna or wherever it was. And they said, look, we've got all your gear. It's all good. And we're like, fantastic. When can we pick it up? And they're like, it's currently in Switzerland.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, okay.
Mate, like, so, and bearing in mind, we had a show in like maybe 12 hours or something like that. So we were like, right, okay. And they were like, oh, yeah. And we were, at first, we were like, you know, can you get it to us? And they were like, yeah, no problem. Yeah, cool. And we're like, oh, great. We've got a gig tomorrow. They go, yeah, it'll be here in 3 days.
Yeah.
And we're like, right. Okay. And bearing in mind, mate, I didn't even have a guitar pick. Like, we had the clothes on our back, and that was it.
In the end, we borrowed some guitars. I think Rick had a 5-string metal
bass. Like, mate, we had all sorts, didn't we? Like awful knockoff guitars.
Mate, but you know, we made the show happen, and then so then we got the gear back as we got back to Moscow Airport.
Yeah.
And then, so when we checked in, we said, look, it's 100%. This is coming back to the UK.
This has happened already.
We had a changeover in Germany. And where you walk, like, kind of across the top of the airport, if you're not checking out.
So you like your layover, so you don't leave the security.
Look down, and on our conveyor belt where the people are signing out or, like, picking up their gear, my guitars are going round
again.
Honestly, mate, I freaked out so badly in the airport. I said, get security.
Yeah.
That guitar is coming on my airplane now.
Yeah. And that was it. If we hadn't literally
if I hadn't have seen that
at that point, you know, maybe 10 minutes earlier, the same thing would have happened again. It would have ended up left in Germany. And, you know, they were guaranteed. They were like, no problem. You know, we'll look after your stuff. You know, we understand. You know, and they were like, well, there it goes again. So, but mate, that was it. When we got back to the UK after that was the most stressful 4 days.
I think the guitar came in bed with me for a few days.
Also, we flew just as a band. So we had no roadies. We had like not even Laurie or no management. So we were like, you know what? And just before we flew, Dan was like, I have a bit of a bad feeling about this one. I was like, don't say it.
Yeah,
don't say it. And like,
if Dan ever has a bad feeling, you know something's going wrong.
Yeah, I was like, next time we'll listen to Dan. Like,
listen to the drummer, man.
That was it, mate. But that was a long few days in Russia.
Yeah, I mean, even though that was a previous story, that's when you really were waiting for good luck.
I can confirm Russian vodka is good. Straight as well, and we were actually drinking it. I don't like vodka, but you can drink it from the bottle, man. No problem. I'll tell you what, we were out the back of the festival stage, so this was pretty hot at that point. I think, like 30 degrees, like, you know, pretty barren. I walked this woman. I think it was a woman. Yeah, so it was sort of running the festival. Says, you know, come with me. I was like, okay, cool. We walk round the corner, just in the middle of a field. There's a freezer, and she opens the freezer, and she's got about 15 bottles of vodka in there, like nothing else around. I didn't even know how they were powering it. And then she was like, take this, drink it. Absolutely, I can do that.
Oh my gosh, a fridge full of vodka in the middle of a field.
Absolutely. That's the way you do it, and that's the way Russia does it.
Maybe that'll be your the next album cover, single cover or something.
Yeah, it should be. You know, we can have the Yeti just diving into a freezer. You know what I mean?
Oh man, well guys, thank you so much for sharing those stories, and thank you so much for taking the time today. This is awesome getting a chance to do a second interview and having you here too, and getting the guitar players. And the album's tremendous. For people out there that are watching this, if you haven't checked it out, please check out The Treatments, Waiting for Good Luck. It's available everywhere, and you can buy physical copies, you can stream it, everything that you normally do to listen to your music however you digest it. And I hope that you guys have a really successful festivals in the summer, and that you get those shows, actually manage to get them booked so that you can play shows in the fall, and maybe even, I don't know, maybe next year be able to come over to the US. I don't know. We'll just see how things turn out. But the album's a motherfucker. So I mean, it needs to be.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we'll do this again after one of our shows, all right?
Yeah.
We'll let you know how the first show's gone.
I would love to do that. You know how to get a hold of me. I know how to get a hold of you guys. So again, every success in the world, and I look forward to chatting with you sometime this summer then.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Cheers for everyone watching as well.
Yeah.
You know,
big shout out.
Mega love and support, and we'll see you at some point. Who knows when, but we will see you.
Absolutely. Keep listening to that rock and roll. Keep supporting 100%. And yeah, thanks for having us, mate. Been a pleasure.
Awesome. Have a good night over there. Stay safe.
Take care, buddy. Look after yourself, mate.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. See you later, mate.